Hello everyone, welcome to Friday Night Live, 26th of June, and we've actually got half planned out episode tonight, so Bill's going to discuss, what are you going to talk about, Bill?
The number 4 rifle and its evolution.
Number 4 through it, so a big segue away from his usual 303 discussions. This week we're going to talk about number 4 303s, and number 5 303s,
and number
5 303s. So we're going to talk about
number 4 308s.
Oh, right, okay. Well, big segue there. So we're going to eat some cupcakes. I'm going to talk about some do's and don'ts when fixing guns. So focusing a lot on the woodwork side of things, because that's generally what people try and do themselves and make mistakes on, but some metalwork type things as well. So some good lessons to be learned there. Trent's going to talk about negotiating correctly. So a lot of people come in here are actually really bad at negotiating. People want the best deal, the best price and that sort of stuff, and they go about it the wrong way. And so Trent is going to discuss that if he ever fixes his computer system. And then we're going to have everything packed away by then. Sorry?
New product.
Yes, we've got some new product from NIOA. You might have seen some of it today on the Friday afternoon live episode of NIOA, trying to catch our thunder. I'm sure that's what it is. They've been doing it for about 3 or 4 years. We've been doing it for a month and a half. But we've got a heap of NIOA products here right now. So we've got some new Caldwell earmuffs, and we've got the whole series of Leupold sunglasses here. So we're going to have a look at all of them, and we're going to talk about them a bit. There is a product that I saw earlier in the week, which I thought I was going to have here tonight, which I don't have, which is the Champion earmuffs. So I'm just going to pretend like I've got a set of them here and talk about them as well. And then once everything's away and it's all hunky-dory, we're going to talk about a craft beer manufacturer from here in Perth who's making some really good products. So, and we're going to taste them and we're going to tell you what that's about. So, hey everyone on Friday night, I really appreciate everyone who's logging in. Special shout out to Leupold. We know you love our episodes. I wonder if they watch it afterwards though. I wonder if they watch it on like Monday. We should probably stop scheduling. We should probably just stop publishing it so they have to watch it live. So cops have to sit up on a Friday night with nothing to do and watch us.
But they'd be on double time and a half then.
Yeah, well, would they be? Government employees?
Oh, probably
triple time and a half. Watching us on Friday night.
But what else would they do?
Well, that's right. Well, I'm not going to get into any of the jokes and profiling of cops here on Friday Night Live. There's plenty of that on the internet at the moment about what else they would. Who ate half a cupcake?
Me. But now I'm on. I can't eat while I'm on.
All right, so we're going to jump on. Bill's going to talk about. I'm just going to move some of this crap away for you. Bill's going to start talking about 303s. So, and thanks for everyone for logging in. Friday Night Live. Send through any questions you have, by the way. Last Friday Night Live was out the farm, and we answered most of the questions we were going through because we had nothing else to do. But 18,000 people watched us last week, and we really appreciate the numbers. And so if we're getting similar numbers tonight, send your questions through.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm just going to run through a brief history on the number 4 rifle, which the British started to develop during the early to mid-30s and eventually got things going just before they had to use done things in the Second War. But their main idea was to make a rifle that was easier and cheaper to make, because the number 1 rifle required a lot of setups, a lot of tooling, a lot of fixtures. The idea was to make another rifle on very similar lines, but cheaper and a little bit stronger and simpler to look after. And they came up with this design. It was basically a strengthened number 1, slightly different action, flat-sided action on the left-hand side. rear sight that was mounted on the rear of the action instead of midway on the barrel, which gave a lot longer sighting radius and made it inherently more accurate. With a longer sighting radius, you got less error. It wasn't a grand departure from the number one, but it was a stronger and simpler rifle.
So the Lee action was the number one Mark III. That action is the Lee designed action.
That's right. The number one Mark III action is a Lee designed action.
So is this technically a Lee?
It isn't technically a Lee. Technically it's an Enfield action now.
So Enfield designed that.
Yeah, it was designed in the Enfield arsenal.
Right. So instead of being a Lee Enfield, this is an Enfield Enfield.
I guess you could call it an Enfield Enfield. There's a lot of things on here that came out of the Enfield factory, Enfield works, like the rear sight, different woodwork setup, where a slightly heavier barrel profile.
Is this a Mark 1 or Mark 2?
This is a Mark 1. This is the Enfield, and it has a bolt release here behind the charging bridge on the rifles that were made later on in America by Savage Arms, and then in Canada by Long Branch factory. Went to a little slot on the right hand side of the boltway, where the bolt head could be released there and then the bolt withdrawn. That was a modification which made them easy to manufacture, and that's what the Yanks wanted, just an easy rifle to manufacture. And it turned out that, typical of the British, unfortunately, they stuffed around until 1939. They hadn't got production going, and the war was on them. So immediately they did what they did in the First World War. They went to America, contracted a couple of companies there to build these things. It ended up Savage at Chicopee Falls in America built just over 1 million of them for the British, and the Long Branch factory in Canada built about 900,000. So the Brits ended up with a couple of million of these from overseas. And
but they didn't produce them themselves?
Yes, they did. They did produce them themselves, but with other requirements, BSA built these as well, and but with other requirements for manufacturing, they couldn't produce the numbers that the Americans could. The Americans just had huge manufacturing capacity. So anyway, the number 4 was adopted along with the number 1 Mark III. They were issued together. Concurrently, yeah. And these did sterling service, a very tough rifle. Later in the conflict, it was determined I needed a shorter, handier rifle for the Middle East and Far East in Burma and so on, in fighting in jungle. And after a few tries at different concepts, they came up with what they called the number 5, which was really the number 4, lightened quite a bit, shortened the barrel, but fitted a muzzle flash eliminator on it, and made a lot of lightning cuts. The butt is hollow, the bolt handle's got a hole drilled in it. There's lightning cuts in the Knox form on the barrel, underneath in around the trigger.
So I always thought this was called the jungle carbine.
No, that's a colloquial term.
But that's because it was only, I thought they were only used in the Far East. Why would this have been any benefit in the Middle East?
Just because it was lighter. The British, towards the end of the war, the British decided that they were going to retire the number 4 and the number 1 Mark III and arm their army completely with only these. with number 5s.
Yeah, right.
They placed an order for 100,000 with BSA, but they had some difficulty with retaining accuracy, retaining what they call the wandering zero, where it would shoot to one position and the next day it would shoot to a slightly different position, and it was never really resolved. And in the end, because the war ended, the British government canned the contracts, but BSA kept making them and sold thousands and thousands of them to India and Pakistan, for example, Malaysia. Australia bought a few. They were used all around the world, but they weren't.
So that rifle is worth a bit more. They're a bit rarer than the number 4.
Oh, well and truly, yeah.
So they're worth a bit more money.
Yep.
So people try and get number 4s and convert them to number 5s.
Make them look like number 5.
So what do people need to look out for in a number 5 to see whether it's genuine or not?
Well, the one big giveaway that probably won't be on a replica or a dummy is 4 slots cut into the Knox form under this fore end. If I had a screwdriver, I could take it off and show you. But there are 4 scoops taken out to lighten the barrel up a bit more. Doesn't take away any strength from it, but the other place that you can see is
They can't see. You can see, but they can't see.
This area here is being scooped away.
So, under the sight here.
Yeah, under the sight here, this wall has been lowered.
And it's been scooped away like that as well.
Yeah, that's right. On the side it's been scooped down, on the other side they've taken the scoop out of it.
Been scooped, yeah.
Inside the...
Because this one's got...
Yeah, that became a will fit afterwards. That's a number 5 bolt.
Oh, it
body,
is.
But it became a common repair for number 4s or number 5s, you know. They didn't.
So this number 5's got that tag, that bolt release. Do they all have that bolt release?
Yes, because the number 5s were only ever made in England, and the Brits never used the scoop slot in the raceway for a bolt release. They only ever used the little tag here, which is on that rifle as well.
I can see the butt pad's different as well.
Yep.
So it's got the sling
swivel from
on the side,
to the fore end.
What else is different on the number 5?
Big hollowed out section inside the butt.
Yep. What about the back side?
Oh yeah, because of the shortened barrel and the shorter sight radius, the rear sight is only elevated. The elevator only goes up to 800 yards.
Whereas on these ones it goes out to 1,300 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few little changes made to them.
Oh, you can take it even further back.
Yes.
Right. So they're the first.
Then late, also in about the middle of the conflict, the Brits decided they needed a sniper rifle. They were pretty short on the P14s that they made up during the First World War. Were all getting worn out and been dispersed around the world. Yeah. So they contracted Holland and Holland, a famous gun manufacturer in England, to set up some 303s with the number 32 scope. The number 32 scope was originally made to fit to a Bren gun, and if you notice,
that was made to fit a Bren gun.
Yep. The idea was that the Bren gun would be able to shoot at long distance accurately. Well, they could shoot very accurately anyway.
Yeah, but how do you point the bloody thing? It's not like it's the easiest thing to throw around. It's not like you can covertly lean out of a bloody church tower, fucking bell tower or something and slot some bloke.
But they made blokes a lot bigger and tougher in those days, like me, you know.
Fuck off.
Anyway, they made quite a few of these in the thousands, and they served very well. And Holland and Holland, if you ever see a genuine one of these.
So this one isn't genuine?
No, this is a replica that I made up.
Oh, it's a Savage action.
Yeah, it's a
They
Savage.
were never built on Savages, were
very occasionally. They were mainly English actions, but there was a few.
There was some American.
Yeah, made on Savage actions, and even a few on Long Branch. Because the Canadians made a copy of this themselves.
Oh, right.
For their own use, but they didn't use the number 32 scope. They used a research limited scope, and it was a similar, but a lot more modern looking. Because this had been designed in the 30s, this one. So, and this served them very well during the latter part of the Second World War. Into the 50s, the Brits, Australia, Canada, all decided that they'd go for a self-loading rifle. So they went to the SLR, and I don't have an SLR, but in conjunction with the rifle clubs in England, a lot of these number 4s were converted to 308 when the 308 ammunition became available.
Just make some more noise while cameras are rolling, mate.
And the rifle clubs developed their big bore rifles to shoot 308, and they'd fit heavier barrels and so on. And then the Enfield made up a few configurations like this for police use, either with open sights on them or with a telescope. And they were quite successful, very, very accurate, because they were making good quality ammunition for them.
So this wandering zero problem that you were talking about before, though,
Yeah.
was that just the number 5?
Just the number 5, yeah.
So the number 4s didn't have it.
Didn't have that problem at all, no.
Did anyone ever figure it out?
No,
Have you
they,
figured it out? There's a bit of research something. You do a PhD on wandering zeros with number 5 rifles.
I don't think so. I've got plenty of other things to do.
Oh, okay.
No, the field workshops did a lot of work on it, replacing barrels, replacing bolts, even replacing the action, putting the number 4 action in there, thinking that some of the lightning cuts that they'd made on the number 5 action were contributing to flexing of the action or something like that, you know. But but they never ever seemed to remind the problem out. Yeah.
Right. So keep going, yeah. Throw away.
Yeah. But yeah, so during the 50s and 60s, the two companies, Enfield for a start, and then Sterling, who were a British gun maker, made conversion kits for these number 4 rifles to fit a 308 magazine.
That's a proper 308, mate.
Yeah, that's a proper 308 Sterling made magazine.
Yeah, right. See you Monday.
A new bolt head that had been proof tested to 19.5 tonnes, I think it was, and then they would have the action crack tested and a little stamp put on it to certify that it had been tested to suit satisfactory for a 308 ammo. When the British Army changed to 7.62, these old 303 sniper rifles were sort of on the back burner. They weren't making ammunition for them anymore. But they needed a good sniper rifle, so nothing can hold down a good Enfield rifle. So what they did, they recalled the 303 sniper rifles, as many as they could, and again they got stuck into them, and they put the 308 heavy barrel in them, a bit longer than the original. The Enfield conversion in the magazine, same with the bolt head, and they fitted the old number 32 scope to them, and all they did was change because the 7.62 shot a little bit flatter than the 303, they changed the scale on the drums to metres instead of yards. They never went to much trouble, I can tell you. And these entered service with the British Army as the L4201,
So that's got a side-mounted scope on it.
Yep.
Why? Because all the modern ones are all bridge mount, yeah? They mount between the front ring and the rear ring, but these ones screw on the side.
Yeah. Because those, all those modern ones, they know nothing about fitting telescopes to rifles. It's the British who know all about fitting.
So let's make offset mounts and then offset rings to make the scope back over the top of the rifle. What's the point? I mean, you can take it off, but
yeah, the idea is you can take it off. They gave the guy a little bag to carry it around, so he could take the scope off.
why? Because they were fragile, or
No. What it was, the original bracket they call it, and which is the scope mounting base and rings, was made for the Bren gun. And because
because the Bren gun had a magazine on top.
The magazine's
So
up on top.
oh well, so they didn't have offset rings for the Bren gun. So the scope went down the side of the magazine.
I guess so, yeah. But that was the idea. The bracket was made.
I suppose you could still. Well, I mean, do you have to take the back side out to put the scope on?
No, you don't. But
These ones.
you have to cut the side up a bit to fit it in there.
To fit.
So I don't put them in case people want to use them properly.
But you could take the scope off and use the open sides.
Oh yeah, that's right. And that was one of the things that when they made them up, they used to grind the battle sight off, and the ladder sight would fall down out of the way. So if you had to use the open sight, you could unscrew the scope and take it off, flip the open side up, and use it as such. But you can see it's a simple exercise to take the scope off and put it back on. And did it up properly.
Pieces are too low. Oh well, they put an addition on it.
Yeah, you can put. This was not a. I think on the old 42s this was a fixture. They fitted it to all of them, but on the old number 4 T's telescope, that was like optional. If a shooter wanted a cheap piece, he could have one.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't fitted as standard. But the L42 did sterling service right through until about 1991. And there's a anecdote about the first Gulf War where the British SAS took their new U-Butte sniper rifles to Iraq. And I don't know if I should say, but they filled up with sand and they weren't very fast.
Was it an SA-80 or whatever they were?
No, it was Accuracy International.
All them buckets of shit.
Right?
All them buckets of shit.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, well anyway.
They filled up with sand and what happened to them?
They wouldn't work very well.
Yeah, right.
They didn't like them. The SAS wanted their L42s back. But the British Army in their wisdom had sold the bloody thing. So the story I heard was that they found a batch of unused number 4 actions, put them back through the factory and turned out some L42s for them so they could carry on using them.
And I think I've told this story before. I think one thing that the guys liked about the old 303s is that they're two-piece stock, yeah? So the rear stock is held on with a big screw that comes up through the butt, as opposed to a Morser, which has got 2 action screws like a normal rifle, like a modern rifle. But because of the big bolt that comes up through these, they're really strong in the arse end, and you can really club the shit out of someone with one and not break the stock off.
Yeah. They were quite good at that.
So they're robust, right?
Very robust, right. And
being the Poms, they nearly probably gave up their Challenger tanks to take horses back on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Oh, it's a bit too hard for us. Let's just give us back our horses.
Yeah, well, the Brits are not. Brits are pretty renowned for sticking to things once they've got something going.
Yeah.
But,
I don't want to spend too much money.
That's right. They never threw a thing away. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's a short history of the number 4, number 5.
Indicative of boomers in general, I think.
Yeah. Is that right?
Don't throw anything away.
It's all worth
Just
money.
keep it, Because I remember back when we had nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't live in that day anymore, so.
You had to walk a mile to school and 2 miles home. Yeah.
And it was always uphill for some reason.
Yeah, it was always uphill
On
both
the
ways.
snow.
Alright,
You work 28 hours a day,
And that's the end of fun with flags.
Woohoo!
So, you'll have to get the other chair out of my office, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, here we go. What do you want to do first?
Well,
Do you want to talk about the new products, or do you want to go over your talk first?
what I'd like to do is put these guns away so I can crack a beer.
No, we're not cracking a beer yet.
Oh, man.
No, you can have a beer if you want. I'm not having a beer until later. So, so yeah, while these guys are just putting the guns away, I'll just run down. I'm going to get Trent to do his talk first on negotiation and getting a better price for stuff and whatnot. But Dave, have you seen any questions come up that?
They don't come up on my screen.
Okay, I've got.
The phone.
I think I've got Trent's phone here, so I'm going to go through. Nathan Griswold, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, mate. You're actually listed on here as a top fan, so thank you, Nate. It's an assault rifle of the 1940s. That's exactly what it is. Afternoon, Bruce. Thanks for tuning in. Where are you made in Australia? Nate, none of the number 4s were made in Australia, no. We made the number 1 Mark 3s at Lithgow, but we never made the number 4s. Do you want to sell that jungle carbine? Colin, Bill will sell anything. Yeah? Blah, blah, blah. Nick Holtz. Problem with the Bren was it was too accurate. Absolutely right, Nick. So what a lot of people have said is that the Bren gun was incredibly good as an assault rifle, as a machine gun. So it had a magazine that came out the top. Means the sights were only down the left-hand side though, so you could only shoot it right-handed. And but the magazine out the top let you get really low to the ground, so you get really low and avoid fire and that sort of stuff. But one of the things about a machine gun is that you want a machine gun to put down a suppression of fire. So you want them to put down a group of fire to suppress targets and that sort of stuff. Not necessarily to shoot an individual person. But the Bren gun was incredibly accurate. It was very, very accurate rifle to the point that you could use it like a battle rifle and pick out targets to shoot. And that was actually not beneficial in some instances. In some instances it was, like Jackie Sue, who was a member of Z Force that was fighting up in the islands during the Second World War. He actually had one in a couple of the assaults that they did on the Japanese things, and he actually, the Japanese had carved that's why you get the other chair.
Speaking of that though, there is a movie where they use it.
Siege of Jadotville.
Jadotville, yeah. So the Irish sniper in that was using a number 4, I think, or number 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was instructed to shoot at this French guy that was ages away. So he says to the commander, "Well, I can't reach him with this. Bring me up the Bren gun." And he has a shot at him with the Bren.
Once he should put a heap of rounds into it.
No, it's just one. It didn't make sense at the time because I was like, well,
it doesn't make sense now either.
But Bill reckons they got slightly more velocity out of them because they had a longer barrel.
How much longer was the barrel?
Don't know. I sort of turned off.
Hey Bill, how much longer was the barrel with the Bren gun?
How much longer?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It can't have been that much longer that you would be able to hit something with a Bren gun and not with a number 4.
Ooh. Anyway. That was.
So yeah, he slotted bring the seat up there. So so the Bren guns are too accurate. Jackie Sue shot a heap of Japs running away from an encampment that they had stormed. It was running down. What would you call it? Just like not tunnels, but like.
Like a channel or something.
Yeah, like on the Western Front. I'm looking for the word. Like when they fought in opposing ditches, like
Trench wall.
Trenches. Why couldn't I think of that word? So trenches. There was trenches dug around the back. The Japanese were running down, and Jackie Sue was slotting them down the trench with a Bren gun because it was incredibly accurate. So any other? Sorry, I'm going through comments. I got Nick Holtz.
There wasn't a great deal. Nick Holtz, any value in joining the NSC?
I have no idea.
Mac, how accurate in reality are those old rifles at like 100 metres?
At 100 metres, you shoot MOA with them? Yeah?
Yep. That's what
They take a lot of work though, yeah? Like you've got to put a lot of time and work into them to get them to shoot really well. But you can't get them to shoot really well.
Yep. So. Steve said, trenches.
Thanks, Steve.
Brad said, trench, brother.
Trench, brother. Thanks, Brad.
Jake, I don't know if this is the right place for this, but do we know what is to go with the WA government banning the Desert Tactical, the Precision DSR, and the Ruger PC? They've always been banned.
We've been talking about this for a few weeks now. The Desert Techs have never been licensed. It's not something that they've banned recently. It's something that we asked them to review, and they said no. Okay? So they reviewed a heap of things, and they allowed some things like the ESS chassis and the TRG M10s and that sort of stuff. But there was a list of things, Ruger Precision Rimfire. Yep. There was a lot of things that they didn't review, and so it's not that they're banned, it's that they've always been banned, and that hasn't changed. Yeah. So it's not something that's new.
It's not.
There are some new things that they have banned, but we're not going to jump to any conclusions yet on why they've done that, because the police will tell you what's banned, but they won't tell you why it's banned. In one instance, they used a catch-all, but I'll have to get to that at another stage. I haven't actually even seen it in writing. Have you seen it in writing?
Yeah.
Why haven't I seen it in writing?
You have. We looked at it about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, can I look at it again sometime?
Yeah, probably.
Bren gun barrel is 25 inch.
25.
What was the number for?
22?
25.2 or something. Yeah.
Well, see, it's bullshit.
Well, I didn't make this up.
No, you brought it up.
I'm just saying what I've seen.
Give me a cup.
How can I be blamed for that? I didn't make
the movie. The Mark 4 and 5 Bren was a 22 1/4 inch barrel.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Alright, let's move on.
So, Ross, one of the guys that works here, brought in brownies and cupcakes. Love you, Ross. Do you want to read off that? I want to put it up on a.
Well, yeah, if you got this thing, yeah, let's do it. So, what I'm going to be discussing tonight, guys, is how to get the best deal when you come to purchase a firearm. So, there's a number of different things that people do wrong on a day-to-day basis when they come into the shop.
And a lot of people are really bad at negotiating.
They just don't have that ability behind them to get what they want in a way that they want to get it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple of things that I reckon will work really well. It's all about building relationships between us. You shouldn't have written it there, should you? So, if you want to come into the shop, don't expect to come in on your very first attempt, walk in like you own the joint, come up and get the best deal. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in anywhere that you go. You've got to start building relationships with the people.
You might think you've got the best deal, but you haven't.
That's right. So that's something that I would highly recommend doing. If you're going to come in, you don't have to be my mate. You don't have to talk to me like you're my mate. But don't treat the person behind the counter like they're there just purely for you.
So you're not buying a pie. Like, you can't buy these sorts of things everywhere. And chances are, you're probably going to come back. Yeah, especially if you like the service. You're going to end up coming back. You're going to chances are, if you're buying a gun from somewhere, you're going to have to go back to pick it up. And when you go back to pick it up, you're going to have to buy ammo and a bag and all sorts of stuff like that. So don't treat it as a single purchase. Yeah, treat it as a sort of a lifetime thing, as a relationship.
Yeah, and this is the thing, the other side of it. If you don't enjoy any of the experiences that you've had whilst you're in a particular shop, then you're never going to go back.
Well, that's a good thing to do. Instead of getting on Facebook and sooking about it, just don't go back.
That's right. Just walk on, move on, go somewhere else. And it might not have to do anything to do with the store. It might just be that two people don't necessarily do anything other than clash. It's not because we hate you. Thank you. I could smell it too. Nice. All right. So
that's not the pen.
Actually, we have written notes for this because there is a lot to cover in this.
No, there's not. It's just you don't know anything about it. I wrote your notes.
oh, okay, no worries. I just did all the work today.
Oh,
How many
he's just going
sales
to
did
keep
you
going back
How
to
many
that.
sales did
He's
you
going to
make
keep dragging that
How
back
many
up.
listens are he? Doesn't
Oh, I
all
did all the work today.
And then Trent turned up late to Friday Night Live.
I've never had anybody cry so much, honestly. It's like,
And he's had 3 kids.
yeah, that's right. I've had 3 kids. Well, not me personally, but in our relationship, I've had 3 children.
You sure it's only 3?
All right, so it's not a test. I can just walk away. It's fine. So, what are you up to? Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Well, I was going to continue with that one, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You go.
So,
Well, we won't talk about that.
yeah. So negotiate like you want to come back. It's got to be a win-win situation for both involved, right?
Production manager over there is going,
Are you ready to bicycle? No nasty bit.
hey, Jonas, can you grab a couple of...
Okay,
As you know,
so
there's one gun still left out, don't get bit.
Negotiate like you want to come back. So it's got to be a win-win situation for both involved. I don't want to just give you stuff,
I'm not up to that.
and to be honest, I'm not gonna if you just expect that. So let's just start with a nice negotiation that'll end up with both of us having a win in the situation.
Yeah. I mean, you can negotiate to get a better deal for yourself, but if you're doing that at the expense of us, if we're not making any, you can't expect us not to make any money out of it. And if we do, well then we're certainly not going to be receptive next time, if you know what I mean, you know? And then that's just a relationship that you burnt before it started.
Yeah. That's good.
Alright, fine.
No, you cannot. Okay. All right. This leads on to the next one. Don't just come in for the cheaper price. You know, don't just lead trap. What's your best price that you can do on this? Blah, blah, blah. The best price is what I've got it for. What we want to do is add stuff to that.
Well, sometimes we can do a better price, but not necessarily. And sometimes we can price match guys over East, and sometimes we can't.
And most of the time over East, no, we can't. We can't even get close. We've got to pay a hell of a lot more freight than they do. And that's
And we
just
don't
what
sell as
happens.
much product as them, so we can't afford to cut our profit margins right down.
That's right. So ask instead, what can I do for you? What can the dealer do to sweeten the deal for you? Does that include a trigger job, doing your paperwork, helping you out with any of the other bits and pieces that you need to make that purchase complete? Do you want a bipod? Do you want a scope fitted? Do you want this? Do you want that? That's all extra stuff that we add on because of the fact that we want to help you get the best that you can get. That's what we want to do.
So we may not be able to give you a price reduction, for example, but we still want to try and look after you. So, for example, we might be able to, I mean, we already do a lot of services and stuff for people, so anyone buying a gun from us will know that we throw in a lot of extra service and that sort of stuff. But maybe you're looking to like a $50 reduction on the price of a gun. Maybe you can get it for $50 cheaper somewhere else. So maybe we can't match that. But what we'll try and do for you is we'll try and do something like give you a bag that's worth $50. Because you're getting $50 worth of free product, but it isn't costing us $50, you know what I'm saying? And so you're getting a win out of it, and we're getting a win out of it, and everyone's happy.
And both of us are going away happy. That's the most important thing with this.
So you're not necessarily negotiating the best price, but you are getting the best value out of the purchase.
Exactly. And it's all about service. So,
Oh, did I? Oh, no, I got one right.
that's right. So, one of the comments on here straight away is Gary. Gary, yes, absolutely. The way that you came in a couple of weeks ago, introduced yourself, you've been watching us on TV or on Friday Night Live for a while now. Now we get to build that relationship because now I know who you are. And it's a brilliant way to start. You didn't come in all blah, 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 you know, you came in, hi, I'm Gary, I've been watching you guys for ages, nice to meet you. It was brilliant, Gary. I really appreciate it. And that makes us feel good too, that somebody is out there taking what we're doing on Friday Night Live and actually bringing it to the shop. That's why we do this.
Next.
Alrighty, this is a big one for me. It's not the be all and end all, but it actually helps us a great deal. When you come in and you bring as much information as you can about the products that you want,
or at least an idea of what you want the products to do.
Yeah, or what you want to achieve. There is nothing worse than when somebody comes in, they walk in and they say, I want a gun. Okay, what would you like to do? I just want to shoot shit. Okay, cool. Then we spend the next half an hour going over everything that you could possibly do with a gun. If you want to do pistol shooting, come in and say, hey, I want to do pistol shooting. If you want to do rifle shooting, come in and say that. We can then work with you to come up with the best solution for what you want to achieve.
And you may not have all the answers, and sorry for the talking while I'm eating.
No, he's not.
You may not have all the answers. You may not know things, but if you come in, one other thing that's going to happen then, if you're not sure, we're going to ask you some questions, yeah, about, have you done any shooting before? Do you have any private properties that you want to shoot on, or any clubs that you want to shoot at? Have your mates got any guns in particular that you've shot that you like, that you like the shape of, and that sort of stuff? Are you interested in long range shooting, in short range shooting? You want to shoot targets? You want to shoot groups, or do you want to shoot tin cans or steel targets or something like that? And so we're going to ask you some questions as well, and that's the best thing about getting the information out that you need to make an informed decision about what products that you purchase.
And it's not that we don't like doing this. It's just it chews up a lot of. Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it. I like talking to people. Not you, but I like talking to people.
I'm not people.
That's right. And I like figuring this stuff out. But if you come already with something in mind, it just takes that time frame from being half a day down to a little bit.
I've got a gun out still, yeah? So after I give my talk, put the guns away, and then I might have a beer. Well, I will have a beer, because I want to talk about the brewery.
All right, moving on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, be informed. That's perfect. That's going to...
Oh, well, that tees in with the next one.
Tees in. When you're in here, ask a lot of questions. If you are unsure of anything, ask. That's what we're here for. We do carry a lot of knowledge despite the fact that we might not see it sometimes. But this is what we're here. We do this for a living. So if you don't have an idea, or if you even have an idea, you're not sure if it's right, if it's one of those bits of information that's been given to you by a mate, ask. That's why we're here. Yeah?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add on.
No,
Yeah?
that's about all we got.
You,
Who wants to say this last point?
I'll just write it on there.
Alright, there is one last point here. When you're shopping, especially local, and we love it, shop local, buy your firearms. If you're a Perth-based guy, buy your firearms from a Perth-based dealer. It keeps us employed, it keeps the shop going, it just helps in general. But the last point that we want to make, and this does not go for 99.9% of you, but there is a 0.1% of you that turns up
Penis!
and acts like a dick.
Yeah, okay. That's what a dick is.
Don't turn up and act like a dick. There's nothing worse than having some dick come in here and act like he owns the joint or knows more and carries on like a pork chop. I don't want to deal with him. He doesn't want to deal with him. Nobody wants to deal with you. You can go and hunt with bows.
I'll send you.
You can just be a bow hunter.
I'll send you a link for eBay. Just buy everything on eBay.
Yeah. Okay? That's what we got for getting the best deal. If there's anything that you guys reckon as well that you want to add to that, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. But as much as this was a bit of a rant, and it was based purely because of the week that I've had, it's not really a rant.
So I actually wrote an article on this years ago now, and I gave it as a talk. I think I actually put it up as a blog on the website. I'd have to go back through our blog. But I wrote a thing, and I gave this as a presentation to the West Australian Pistol Association executive as a thing, as sort of a representative from the WAFTA. Mainly on buying local and what the benefits are to buying local. And there are a lot of benefits of walking into a store, into a shop front and purchasing locally. And so that's sort of a rendition on that larger buy local ideal. Which I don't really, everyone that's watching us is pretty much either from WA or in Australia.
No, we've got a lot of Australian viewers from all over the states. So,
but it does, and that's not saying buy from Beaton's. It's saying buy local, buy from your local thing. And I'm not just talking about guns either. We're talking about a whole range of things. You should buy, all your. Well, what's another example of stuff that people buy? I don't know.
Groceries.
I don't know, but Nathan reckons Does snags help build a relationship? What flavour would you like, Trent? Yes, mate. If you turn up with sausages,
Yeah, whatever, like a pork beef mince.
Who's the
Nathan Griswold, he's a funny fucker. He pulls piss out of me on a day-to-day basis, but he's good fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a little bit of a big head growing thing here. When Trent started working for me, he knew fuck all about guns, yeah, and he still knows most of that. But I hired him because he's a really nice bloke to talk to, yeah. So he was one of 3 people who made it through to the final round of interviews. It was him and 2 other people, and they're all really nice people. But I chose Trent because I knew he was a very personable person. And he's not stupid either, so he's been able to learn.
He might be a rugby player, but he's not stupid.
He might be from Queensland. No, you're from New South Wales.
I'm from Queensland. Do not ever accuse me of being from New South Wales.
Oh, okay.
I lived there.
So he might be from Queensland, but it's not like he's from Ipswich or something, is he?
I lived there for 2 years in New South Wales, and I swear to God, I got stupider. And I got worse at rugby. It wasn't great. Anyway, right. What are we doing now?
Oh, do you want to talk about products?
I do. I want to move on to something good.
No, I want to talk about this so we can get rid of that gun.
Okay, you talk about that. I'm going to start bringing these over.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about gunsmithing do's and don'ts.
Woohoo!
Do's and don'ts with Zaine. Okay,
Don't be a
so
dick.
the problem is that a lot of people like to do their own gunsmithing, and that's fine. Yeah, there's very little legal ramifications for working on your own guns as long as you're aware of the safety requirements that guns have to meet, okay? But as a gunsmith, we've seen a lot of horrors over the years, and there's a couple of easy steps that people can follow to make sure that the gunsmithing that they do turns out really nice, okay? And I've got a couple of examples here. So one of the first things I'm going to show you is a really, really common mistake that people make when fitting recoil pads. So this is a Mossberg shotgun. And you can see that this stock is actually really poorly shaped anyway. You can see that there's actually a bow to the bottom of the stock here. That should be flat. But then you can see that the stock is at one angle, and then the pad is at another angle. And that's a common issue with pad fitting. So what we want to do is when you fit a pad is you want the pad to finish all the lines of the wood off, yeah? So the pad should run straight off from the bottom of the stock seamlessly, same down the sides. What you don't want is you don't want a stock coming across and then the pad coming down at an angle, you know what I'm saying? Now they're very hard to actually grind one of these pads really, really nicely. And there's an old trick, which is you lay a piece of grey insulation tape around the stock. And that way, if you're about to hit the stock, you'll hit the insulation tape first and you'll see it and you'll stop. But what you want to do is you want to grind the pad a section at a time at the start to hog out most of the material. But also, when you're sanding the pad, you're going to be sanding on this section here. You don't want to watch the pad. You actually want to watch the line of the stock to make sure that you're cutting perfectly parallel to the line of the stock. So don't watch down here on the grinder, watch about here somewhere. And make sure your line is good. And just do a section, a section, a section, because you're going to have to change the angle of the stock as you go around. And then put a finer pad on and go around and just finish off all the little bumps that you've left on from doing it in sections, you know what I'm saying? So pad fits, that's the way to do it. Make sure that when you take the old pad off, you deck the stock so it's perfectly flat at the base, because a lot of pads, we use Pacmire pads because they're a really good pad, but they've got a steel liner inside. So the first thing is, make sure you buy the pad that's got the steel liner that's smaller than your stock, because you don't want to grind onto the steel liner. You'll see it from the outside, it looks gross. So get the right size pad, and then you want to deck the back of the stock so it's perfectly flat, so when you screw the pad up, it doesn't buckle or move. Yeah? Fit your pad and grind it. If you're using some of the other brands, like Limsaver for example, Limsaver are a much softer pad than a Pacmire. They don't hold their shape as well and it's for long. And when you grind them on the grinder, you actually pull the material, and it actually leaves a really rough finish on it. So with a Limsaver pad, what the best thing to do is put it in the freezer for a few hours, and then put it out, take it out, screw it on, and grind it. So that's fitting pads. Can you get rid of that?
Yep.
This is the last gun that we've got out.
Straight in the bin.
Yeah, just chuck it in the bin.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so when you've got a crack in a stock, what you don't want to do is screw a tech screw straight through the side of the stock to hold it together. A, it doesn't work. B, it looks gross. So depending, maybe you've only just cracked the stock, maybe the crack's been in the stock for quite some time and you've never noticed it until it's gotten too bad. Might have been in there for months or even years. And the crack will actually, you'll get oil and dirt and all that sort of stuff soaked in around the edge of the crack. And you need to get all that out, because what you want to do when you glue the stock is you want to compress the stock, you want to push the crack back to try and seal it back up and get rid of the line of the crack as much as possible. Now my stock maker can actually hide a crack, so you can't see it unless you know you're looking for it. So, and he does that by soaking the actual crack, all the area around the crack. So you can see here he's actually shoved a toothpick through the stock to wedge it open so we can get all the oil and everything. And you can see inside it's dry as a bone now. He's got all the dirt and oil and everything out of this crack, even though it's been cracked for quite a number of years. So what you want to do from there is, once you've got it clean, then you want to get a really good 2-part epoxy. Yeah, like a very strong epoxy. Don't use clag or wood glue or anything like that. You want a really good epoxy, and you want to layer it in there. Most 2-part epoxies this time of year will actually give you quite a lot of working time, so you can spend a bit of time making sure the crack is fully full of epoxy as much as possible. And what you'll actually try and do is try and wedge the stock apart a little bit and try and pump extra epoxy down into the crack where you can't necessarily get to easily. And then once it's all done, then you want to put it in a G-clamp or something like that and actually compress the stock as hard as possible. And all the glue will squeeze out from around the edges where the crack is, yeah? You want to compress it down and let it set for at least 2 days this time of year. Yeah, a little bit less in summer, but this time of year you want it to go off for 2 days so it's nice and strong. Now from there, there's still a risk, because there's a weakened section of stock, there's still a risk of it opening up. So what you want to do is you want to pin the stock across the crack, but you don't want to do it on the outside of the stock because you'll see that. But you can get on the inside of the stock, you can cut grooves across the grain and actually pin across the grain. Yeah, and that way that'll be the strongest part of the stock. It'll be the least likely to break if it breaks again. So that's how you want to glue and pin a stock. Yeah. It's a very time-consuming process. Don't think you can do it quickly and easily, but the goal is not to be able to see it from the outside. Now, if you do have a stock which is very degraded around where the crack is, you'll never be able to hide it, yeah? One of the best things to do, especially if it's around the tang of a rifle, where it's likely to take a lot of recoil, or on the faces of stocks on shotgun stocks, what you want to do is you want to remove all of that area entirely, cut it all out, and place new bits of wood in there. But don't use something and try and match it, because you'll never match it. It'll never look right. You'll never get the right colour. You'll never get the right grain. Use a contrasting colour. Use a contrasting bit of wood and make it look like it's supposed to be like that. Okay. So stock styles as well. So if we're talking about the style of the stock, there's classic designs. So there's very straight combs, no raised cheek pieces and that sort of stuff. Then there's a lot more contemporary designs, and designs like what Weatherby were famous for. So white line spaces, Monte Carlo cheek pieces with Bell and Carlson, Monte Carlo combs with Bell and Carlson cheek pieces and that sort of stuff. So what you want to do is you want to pick a style that's contemporary with the rifle that you've got, or the contemporary with the design that you want to do, and stick with that line. Don't try and mix your ideas too much. An example here is one of the first stocks I was working on, which was a raised cheek piece, sort of express style. So it doesn't really match. So you can see here I tried to make a pancake cheek piece, but on a raised cheek piece. So that's a very American style raised cheek piece with a very European style design around it, yeah? And I tried to bring the stock lines in here like an express style stock, and it just ended up too thin. Like I wanted an American styled butt, but with a European sort of forend, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, it looks ugly. It just doesn't work. Like choose one or the other. Use a straight comb European style stock, or use a more flamboyant American style design, but don't try and mix the two together. Try and stay with one genre. The other ones are, okay, I'll talk about washing out lines first. So if you've got a rifle stock that's got really nice lines to it, like this one, so you can see that this has got it's a flat comb stock with a very classic style cheek piece with a shadow line behind it as well. So you can see that shadow line running underneath it. A very, very nice feature on a stock like this. You'll also see it's cut in here where the trigger would be, where your trigger finger would be if you're a left-hander. There's another one on the other side with the right-hander. And this is just a cut blank, yeah? So this hasn't had any finishing or anything done. It's just come off the machine like that. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to wash out any of these sharp corners and lines. Some people say, oh no, you'll dent it and it'll ding it up, you know, it'll crack it. It won't happen. If the grain structure is correct on the stock, you won't have that happen. You want to keep these sharp lines. You want to be really careful. Use little blocks of wood and use your sandpaper very carefully and keep all those sharp edges. Don't just sand up and down the stock and over the lines and wash them out, yeah? You want to keep them sharp. You want to bring these, so this one here is just done on the machine, but what I would do is I would actually bring this line in and I would bring that line in from there as well. Bring it into, maybe you could put it into a teardrop. That's a bit flamboyant for this sort of style of stock, but you would bring that in nice and sharp, keep these nice sharp edges, and that way it would be a very sexy stock. And this is another similar one. This is a much more modern design. So this would have been a raised cheek piece originally, and I've taken the cheek piece off it to a straight comb design because I prefer that. But this has got a nice sharp line that runs around the cheek piece, and then it continues up. I washed it out only because of when I took this off, and then I'll bring it back in once I do my shaping. So I'll bring this line back in so it follows the top of the hole on the pistol grip. It comes around here and then matches back up with this groove through here that you can see the shadow that's there. So you end up with a complete line through there. You don't wash that out and then bring it back in. You want to continue that line all the way through. You want to keep it nice and sharp around the cheek piece and have some real definition in the stock in that area, yeah? Again, with the pistol grip, with your thumb hole, you'll have this line where the thumb hole's been carved out through here. You'll see that line that runs around the edge. Again, you don't want to sand that away. You don't want to get rid of that. You want to keep that sharp edge. You don't want to wash those lines out. You want to keep that line around there. You want to keep that around there. Keep the nice sharp edge to the pistol grip. Don't wash that out either. Keep all your lines nice and sharp. Takes a little bit of care, a little bit more time. It'll be much worth it in the end. And then the last thing I want to talk about is similar to what I was talking about before in that mixing ideas, mixing designs and finishes. With metalwork, you don't want to mix your finishes. You don't want to have a shiny finish on part of the gun and a sandblasted finish on another part. And again, you don't want to have like a factory sandblasted finish, which is quite light in some instances, and a darker sandblasted finish on another part of the gun, like a muzzle brake or something like that. If you're going to do that, sandblast the whole gun, and so it's all the same finish, and that way it looks like it's supposed to look like that. Yeah, there are some exceptions to that. Obviously, if you've got a blue action and a stainless barrel, that can actually look quite sexy. But you need to be a little bit more reserved in some of the other areas. Otherwise, everything just looks too loud. Okay. But there's an overarching rule to all these things that we've been talking about, and that is if you can't, and this is the golden rule that I've been talking about, if you can't hide it, make it stand out. So with the crack on a stock, if you can't hide the crack, carve it right out. You know, if it's quite degraded, carve it right out and put an inlay in there or something like that. Make it stand out, make it look like it's supposed to look like that. So we had a client that had a 4N stud. The stock had actually deteriorated so bad that stud pulled out, and we were just left with a hole, and he wanted us to fit a new stud and fix the hole, and we couldn't do that, and we couldn't do it to make it look nice. So what we actually did, what my stockmaker did, was actually carved out a diamond out of the stock where the old stud was, and set that into the stock. And the diamond that he cut was at exactly the same angle as the checkering pattern that was on the stock. And that way we could checker up over the lines of this ebony inlay, and it would all look symmetrical and all the lines were perfect, yeah? So always make sure that if you can't hide your work, try and make it look like it's supposed to be like that, yeah? Same with the muzzle brake. If you can't draw the muzzle brake into the lines of the rifle and have it, have it taper into it and have it finished nicely, make it big and bold and make it stand out and make it look like it's supposed to be there, okay? So that's my section for tonight on gunsmithing done right. So all the guns are away.
Just quickly, can you answer a question for Samuel?
Yeah, of course.
Samuel has asked, do you have to be licensed in modifying your stock or creating a stock from scratch?
No, you don't. Not your rifle, okay? So, and this is the thing, the Firearms Licensing Act is quite ambiguous in many ways, but this is just one of them. In the past, and it's probably a question for police licensing because it would change day to day. In the past, it's always been like an unwritten rule. You can work on your gun, but you can't work on someone else's gun. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a license to be in the possession of that firearm and you can't work on it, okay? So the unwritten rule was always that you could work on your own gun, and so you could make a stock for your own gun or modify your stock or those sorts of things. You could even work on the trigger on your gun, but just be aware that there are requirements under the Act so if you make a stock and the stock is faulty in some substantial way and the firearm is not serviceable, well then there may be repercussions for that. That's a question for licensing. But definitely if you modify the trigger on your gun and it doesn't meet the safety requirements that are prescribed in the Firearms Act, then that is unlawful and you can be charged for that. So generally speaking, it's a really good idea to anything relating to the metalwork side of things, leave that for a gunsmith. The woodwork side of things, be a little bit careful, a little bit reserved. But if you're unsure, speak to police licensing and they'll probably get back to you in a month or two.
How soon?
Probably a month or two. Yeah. Well, they'll have to come to some sort of decision. So the person you speak to will have to speak to someone else who will give it to their boss, who will give it to their boss, who they'll have a meeting, and then they'll have a committee, and then they'll come to a decision, and then that'll be stuffed up. So they'll withdraw that one, and then give you another decision, and then you'll be left probably no better off than when you started. But,
all
Alright,
right, that's clear.
let's get these up.
Clear as mud.
So, the wonderful guys over at NIOA.
Why are there hot beers out here?
Alrighty, guys. The wonderful guys over at NIOA have dropped in and they've heard us talking about some of their new products, and they've actually dropped some off for us to show you tonight. So, here we go.
Haven't you got any colonial beer?
That's what that is.
Is it?
First up, we're going to start with the new Caldwell.
Yeah, I want to talk
business
about it after we've
gongs.
done this. But
They come in a range of different sizes. They are all finished in yellow. They do have these holes in them for the coach bolts, so you can hook them up to conveyor rubber. That would be the rubber that I was chasing.
so where do you get the rubber from? Can you get hanging kits for them? Or?
I don't know, I didn't look that up.
Oh.
Well, they are finished quite nicely, so there you go.
Do we need to move that way, or does that? Can you move the camera this way?
No, it should be right.
Are they,
Pretty close in.
are they Bizzle?
Yeah, they are, Biz, yeah.
It's 500, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's fine.
apparently they're not. Apparently they're no good for 50 BMG.
Or anything over 3,000 feet per second, apparently. But,
Why would that be relevant?
I don't know.
Well, 223 is more than 3,000 feet per second.
I'm just saying what it says on the back. Yeah?
That's
Once again,
that is the stupidest rule.
once
Well, we're
again-
not going to warrant it if it's over 3,000 feet
Well,
per
once
second.
again, I didn't make it. So having a go at me isn't going to help it.
I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying in general. Like
What if you
223,
want something?
you can't fire a 223 projectile slower than 3,000 feet per second.
Are you going to shoot at a point blank though?
That's not relevant. They're just saying it's not over 3,000
Are
feet.
you going to be shooting a 223 at a gong, point blank, for it to be going more than 3,000 feet per second?
Oh, you mean terminal velocity?
Oh, when it hits it.
How are you supposed to know
Well, if it puts a hole in it, it's going too fast. Alright, moving on. I don't want to be stuck here all night. My wife's getting KFC for dinner. I don't care. I love it. Oh, right, calm down.
that? Did someone say KFC?
KFC. Alright, Tasco are doing a new trail cam. I actually don't know too much about this. It's aimed at the lower end of the trail cam markets.
No, it's aimed at people that would normally buy a trail cam from someone.
Like Aldi.
Yeah, exactly. So it's aimed for that end of the market. So shooters and those sorts of people can come to a firearm dealership rather than buying shit online. Yeah. So it's an entry level version. So it's a good trail cam. Like, it's not a cheap shit trail cam. It's a good trail cam. It just doesn't have some of the features that some of the more expensive ones do. So we can still get the expensive ones, but for the entry level person, this is the way to go.
Sweet. Alrighty, Caldwell. These were the ones that you were quite happy about.
No, well, yes and no. I like the champion ones, and Dietrich didn't drop them off. I don't know what he did.
I don't know either, but
They were in his box earlier in the week. When Jason come past and dropped all this stuff, and showed us this stuff on Wednesday.
showed you. I didn't get to
Wednesday,
look
yeah.
at them on Wednesday.
He had some champion earmuffs,
I was
and
busy
they're not
as
here
shit,
anymore.
and you got to see them. I didn't get to see final.
So these are really good entry level earmuffs. This is the electronic ones.
Yeah,
You
they're
get a price on them.
Yep, electronic ones. The next gen start at $115.
Cheap as
So,
chips, yeah.
cheap as
So-
chips. Worthwhile. If you're ever on the range and you don't have electronic earmuffs, it's a pain in the arse. You can't hear the range officer. You can't hear when he calls ceasefire and stuff like that. Get yourself into a set of electronics. They work a treat. Every month we have to deal with guys that don't have electronic earmuffs, and you have to constantly shout at them when you want to go and clear the range. So get into them.
What? So Bill needs to wear a set of these.
They also do
all the time.
youth ones now, so they're the same internally, except they are a little bit smaller. That is actually a passive one, I think.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
passive.
that's a passive one, so I picked up the wrong box. But they are the same inside as the big ones, except they are smaller, designed for youths who have smaller heads, littler ears.
And rugby players.
Yeah, and a rugby player.
Well, our heads look smaller because our
So how
bodies
much
are
are the
so
packets?
small.
Oh, look
I don't know, look it up. I actually didn't know they were in there. I was too busy. Anyway, they're cheap. Get on them.
They're not very expensive.
Nah,
I think they're under $100.
Oh, they're well under $100. They'd be
Oh yeah, because they're passive.
Yeah, they'd be probably $60, something along those lines. Alright, they're the Caldwell ones.
These are 24 NNR, yeah, so they're up there. They're not quite as good as a Peltor, yeah. So if you're shooting a lot of high-powered rifles with muzzle brakes and that sort of stuff, then you might want to go to something a little bit more protection than this. But standard 223s, out of a ute or on a range, any of that sort of stuff, these, or shotgunners, these are really, really good for that sort of stuff. The champions,
And if you guys like listening to music while you're shooting, it does have a jack in the back.
it has a jack.
It has a jack, so that's great. So
But for those people who are up to date with technology, with Bluetooth, which has been out for like 20 years, so you can go up to the champions,
what's going on?
the champion earmuffs, yeah? So they're an electronic earmuff like that. They look a little bit weird, yeah? They look like a D-shaped thing, like they're bigger on the front than at the back. But they're actually really, really, like I put them on, they're really, really comfortable. So,
And you can Bluetooth your music to it.
yeah, you just Bluetooth your phone to it. So you can play music, you can answer your phone. It's got 3 microphones in it. So they're really good as well. They're a little bit more expensive, yeah. I think they're under $200. But if I was to actually buy a set of earmuffs, it would be the champions, not the thing. Like I've always had Peltors, yeah. But Peltors are hideously expensive.
My music is now in my ear.
Thanks, yeah. You think you're funny, but you're not.
I'm hilarious, mate. People only watch it for me.
So so if I was actually buying another set of earmuffs, it'd be those champion ones. They look a little bit like, have a look at them online, yeah? They're like a D-shaped earmuff, and they're not conventional in that regard.
Personally, currently, we all run
Peltors.
Peltors.
Yeah, that's because we get them at cost.
And I run a sports here, so
But if you get them at cost, so it's different. But you know, I would actually say to people, don't get a Peltor, get a champion.
well, that's when negotiations come out. Anyway, moving on. All right, these are the bits that I've been waiting for. The new Leupold sunglasses.
This is the most exciting part of the presentation, where we're going to show you something that no one's going to buy.
I will buy some. I've actually committed to it, and I have bought some.
It's because it's not your fucking money. It's easy to commit to. Oh, you personally or the shop?
Well, for both. So it's all good. These ones are. Hey, okay, calm down. That's the alarm that says KFC's coming.
Is it? Or is that
Yeah.
not going to go pick it up?
No, that's just the hurry up.
That's just alarm to say
that's the hurry up.
If you want to get home now, because it'll be hot.
That's right. So these are the switchback sunnies. They come in a couple of different styles. So they do have different lens colours, different frame colours.
Just to let you know, they're all Polaroid, and you can get lenses cut for them. So
Polaroid. Check it like a Polaroid picture.
Oh, that's
Polaroid's a brand.
Okay, polarized. So they're polarized. So, so really good for people that are, if you use it. Obviously, a lot of people use it for driving, but also boats and that sort of stuff where you're getting a lot of that light coming off the water. That'll cut out a lot of that glare because of the Polaroid lenses.
Plus, he looked like Arnie in the second movie, so.
So I don't know if you can see just in there. This is budget as we get. So they're the switchbacks there. They're all the styles that they come in. I actually like these ones here with the green lenses, and I think I'll look good in the set, so that's probably what I'm going to order.
Yeah? No? I usually don't go for this sort of frame.
What I actually prefer when I see you...
Don't you like these ones?
I actually prefer if we could do that. So we don't have to look at your face at all.
Give him a welding mask.
Yeah, I quite like them. I think these actually work a treat on my head. So, there you go.
Cool as a cucumber.
Cooler than a cucumber.
Oh.
Yeah, a cucumber wishes it was as cool as me. Anyway, so they're the type that I'm looking at. Now those ones there, they're starting at $290, but they're well worth it. So
and this is the
get in
thing.
and catch me out. I can get you some of these.
And this is the thing. Like if you're going to buy $290 sunnies, you're probably not going to come to Beacon Firearms to buy them. We hope you do.
I think you should.
But like most people that are looking for that sort of stuff are going to go to like Sunglasses Hut or something like that. They're going to look at these and they're going to look at Oakley's and they're going to look at other brand names and that sort of thing.
But I want to point out to you that if you go to the Sunglasses Hut and places like that are in big shopping centres, you have more chance of getting COVID-19. So come in here and buy them from me.
That's actually legitimate.
That's...
And being ripped off.
Oh, this is the tortoiseshell. This is female ones.
Where'd you get that one from? Alright, so that's the Becknara. These ones, the Becknara, they're not a bad one. I think they are more female than, or maybe it's just your head.
Do I have to like?
Yep. The Becknara, they start at $245. So they actually come in quite a cool frame. It's got like tiger stripes and stuff in it.
Is it? Is it like leopards?
It's a bit hipstery.
Yeah, something like that. I think they look quite cool. You want to keep moving?
I don't.
Or you just going to leave those ones on there?
Here. I don't know if my head's too big. You got to put them on.
Alright, I'm going to put them on.
People want to see them on different people.
So this is what it looks like if you've got a beard and sunglasses
What
on.
do you do with the other ones?
I'll put them away already.
Okay.
Yep, so make sure you don't put them in the right. Put them in the right place.
Yeah.
So these ones are pretty cool. They once again come in a couple of different ranges. What do they got? Actually, they've got more in this range than they do in anything else. They've actually got 5 of them. So yeah, have a look at those. They're pretty cool.
What was that lens colour?
Yeah.
What about frames colour?
Nah,
You can get like a.
Well,
I think you can get like a black and a.
Cubist, let us know if they come in different frames.
Cubist, get online, do some work.
Yeah. What are you
Tell us
doing?
what different
Don't tell me
frames they
you've
come in
knocked
as.
off for the night.
Katmai.
Katmai. The Katmai.
Where do they get these names?
I don't know, but they sound pretty cool.
Becknara,
Oh,
Katmai.
the back. Did I say the Becknara starts at $245?
No, the previous one.
If I didn't, I'm sorry, I have now. Katmai. These ones here start $230, go up to $245.
So about the same sort of price.
Yep.
A bit thinner frame, yeah.
Yeah, and they've got quite a large lens on them, so it's sort of more set up for like
Actually quite flexible.
old people in general.
Well, old people, that's nice.
Or
Why are these
actually,
better for old people?
no, actually, these ones here, I reckon they look better if you're one of those guys that wear jet pilot shorts and possibly have a Southern Cross tattoo on your neck.
Where you white, your hat backwards and...
Probably drive a Holden too.
Losers.
Anyone else you want to alienate tonight?
Everyone. I aim to alienate everybody. John.
Well, no, we've only been playing on whites. We've got Asians, blacks,
Oh, I'm not
we've
part
got
of that
heaps
one.
of people to pick on.
You picked on
No,
another.
we're not going to play any racist
That
jokes
went
tonight.
well, straight up. Alrighty, the next one. Oh, the traces. Can I have the traces, please? Now, these traces are actually a ballistic rated lens, and they come with 3 different lenses. That's the end ones there.
What was that?
I don't know. What? Fuck up.
Nitrogen sorted out.
Yeah, it's alright. Shrek will sort it out for us. So, these ones here are the traces.
We're just playing like musical chairs with his glasses or something.
Yeah, that's it. I quite like these ones. They got quite a thin arm on them. They are designed for shooting.
Back in the...
So, very stylish.
They're my favourite.
Yeah, they're very stylish. They do wrap around quite well. They do come with 3 different lenses, so they come with a yellow lens, a black lens, and a clear lens by the looks of it. They start at $230. They do go up to about $275 depending on different stuff.
But they're one of the cheaper ones in the series.
They are, and I quite like them. They're probably not the one I
They're the ones
buy.
you put on your head backwards.
No, these are the ones that I buy because you get the different lenses. Because you get the other lenses.
And
So you get yellow lenses. So if you're a shotgun shooter and you're shooting when it's overcast or something like that, or a pistol shooter, you can put the yellow lenses in.
Well, if it was a pistol shooter, you just throw one of those lenses away and you just put one of those ones in that blocks it out.
Well, you can put
Because I can't shut one eye.
well the individual lenses. You can put
That's hard.
You can put yellow on one side and black on the other.
Is that what it is?
Like a white clear one on one side, and then it's just like you don't have to squint one eye.
And if you bought that, your name would be Vladimir.
No, I really like them. I like these as well because when I've got these on, I can't see any light up here or around here. You know what I'm saying? Like they cover my eyes.
And he
time.
does have quite a definite brow and fat cheeks, so having that glare that's reduced off that reflection works a treat. Hey, fat boy.
Sweet.
Cool.
Who's eating KFC tonight?
I am, and I don't care. I love it. All right. So that is something that I really like. Since these have come out, I've been trying to get my hands on them, and we actually have now. So if you guys want to come down and
What else has he got in here?
not much, I don't think.
Can I get into that? What is that?
I don't know. He don't pull his stuff out. He don't tell us in good.
Oh, it's just a lens.
Oh, it's a lens pen. Yeah, so get down, have a look at. Well, I don't even know how long I'll have them for. Probably at least.
Monday. He's picking them up Monday.
Probably at least tomorrow. So if you guys want to come down and have a squiz at them tomorrow, come down. Me and Zaine are on. So come down and have a squiz. Quite happy to show you. You can't buy these ones. They're a display unit, but have a look at them. All right, what else have we got? How shrapnel proof are they? I don't know if I can send them to Afghanistan. Sorry, Mac. Try if you want.
They've got Leupold guarantee.
Yeah, don't know. Didn't ask.
Hey, there's a third beer in there. Ty, can you grab the third one for us?
Are we moving on to beverages, are we?
Well, I mean, have you got anything else to talk about? What are the new products from?
The new Adler rifle barrel.
Oh yeah, the new Adler rifle barrel.
Yeah, it's a rifle barrel designed for shooting rifled slugs.
22 inch.
22 inch.
Oh, and you can get one in FDE now as well.
No, that's the tactical. That's not a rifled slug, eh?
No, you can get an Adler in FDE.
Yeah. You know the Adler B230 tactical? Not only does it come in black, it now comes in FDE. So get on that. We're actually going to have them going for $930, those FDE ones. And the tacticals have dropped down from where they were, back down to about $860 now. So we're going to run the black ones at $860. The FDE ones, come in at $930. But get on that.
When are the FDEs coming in?
Don't know. Probably not far away.
July, I think.
Yeah, July. I think
Couple of
that's
weeks.
a couple of weeks.
Like,
I think it was
next week is July.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not far
Yeah,
away.
I think we get
Adler's
them.
one of those companies that have big production capacity. So
I think we get them in 3
I'm pretty
weeks.
certain
this,
they're
like
still
a
gonna
Yank
come.
company make them next year.
2 magazines, I'm pretty certain they're coming with,
Oh yeah.
like the normal tactical. So
I'm
if
still working on my box mag that takes 25 rounds. For those people who've got.
all right, what are we doing now?
We've also got the rifle shotguns you can buy. We've got
Oh,
a
the barrel.
B220 pistol grip. What was that? 860.
Yeah,
And
they're
the
cheaper, aren't they? B220s.
they're a little bit more.
with the rifled barrel.
Oh, sorry.
And we've got the rifled A110 lever action. That's $10.95.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so if you guys want to get into shooting some rifled slugs out of a rifled shotgun, oh, yeah, I know.
It's getting cold.
That's my KFC drinking.
Right, so, and I've said it in previous episodes, that it's really important to shop locally, and it's really important to support local businesses. One of the businesses that have suffered more than other people is definitely, you can't have the same one you had last night. You can't have that one. No, you can't.
Well,
You have to pick one of the other two.
can you put them out there so that the people that
I will in a sec. I want to know that you're not going to steal it. It's really important to support local brewers and wine manufacturers because they've had it as tough as anyone else, if not tougher. And so, and you know that it's Friday night. We like to enjoy ourselves socially. And so...
Oh, we should point out that all the guns are locked away.
all the guns are locked away.
Like, that's
So
the disclaimer.
we're not in actual possessions of any firearms, which is what the legislation says. You can't be in actual possession of a firearm.
I can't get to it, it's locked.
So there's no legislation issues there. To the people, we've recently found out that some greenies have dobbed us into CIFA as well, as if Seafood give a fuck what we do. So
Thanks, Greenies.
Like, you know, it's just cowardly. So anyway,
What business is even theirs?
it's not anyone's businesses. We're adults having a single beverage on a Friday evening, and amongst thousands of other Australians, tens of thousands of other Australians enjoying themselves.
Actually,
on Friday
what I
night.
want to do right now, put up a thumbs up if you're actually having a beer watching us talking about guns. That would be
Thumbs up.
fantastic. Let's see how
Having
many
a
we can
beer
get.
or a wine or a scotch.
Or a Bundy. If you're having a Bundy, put 2 thumbs up because you're having a better time than us.
If you're having a Bundy and not smacking your missus, 3 thumbs up.
Don't smack your missus.
Is that still a Bundy thing? Because
No.
I know when I was in
No.
my teenage years, that was a Bundy thing.
Who's having a bush truck?
There'll be a few of
Who's
these.
having a bush chook?
Probably people with mullets.
Okay, so let's talk about the beer.
Oh,
so,
look at all the thumbs
look
up.
at how many there's going. What's going on?
Plenty of thumbs
A lot of people are safely enjoying, and I'd like to see the statistics. How many drunk firearm owners have been get arrested? Drunk firearm owners get arrested this weekend. That'll be interesting.
Let's not.
Because it'll be zero. It'll be nothing.
Don't do that.
Okay, so other side is a brewery in Fremantle, and so they do a lot of different beers. But this is actually their, I think it's like their favourites box or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that.
So you buy this, it's $50, and it's got 3 different types of beers in it, and this is their favourite ones that they sell. So this is the ones that sell the most of. So,
Yeah, and it was delivered.
oh yeah, we got free delivery on it as well. So if you're in the Perth area, it's free delivery. And I think if it's outside the Perth area, it's only $10 delivery. So it's bugger all.
Big
So I
thanks
got
to
it
the
delivered at
guys
work.
as well
Yeah.
for bringing it in, dropping it
But
off.
we did buy this, yeah. We didn't ring them up and say we want free piss. Like I bought this beer, and that's the reason why I'm absolutely unashamed. If this is absolute shit, I will tell you because I paid for it. So it's not like I'm doing them an ad or a favour or anything like
I
that.
would like to point out though, if Great Northern is watching and they want to supply free beer to me for this, I'm more than happy to accept that. And I have put that out in the past and they haven't responded,
No.
so maybe
And
they
they're
haven't
probably
seen
not
it.
going to.
Just hashtag them in, guys. Get them sorted, them and KFC.
Right, so these are their 3 beers. So they've got a lager. So their lager is just like your standard, I think they call it social. Yeah, social. So it's like your standard, like Friday night at a barbecue drink. Yeah, it's quite easy to drink, much easier than a lot of the lagers that are out there now, which have got really high IBUs. This is actually quite a mild lager to drink, but it's got a lot more flavour to it than like your standard bush chook or your, that sort of stuff. So Trent actually had one of them last night. I actually got all 3 out and said Trent pick one, and he chose this one, and it was really nice. And that's why you have to have a different one.
It was delicious.
So I had the ale last night. So the ale, think of like very similar to Kilkenny, but not quite as smooth, but a bit more like fruity sort of finish to it. Yeah. So not fruity like fruity.
No.
Like it's got some flavour to it. Yeah. So this is a really nice, a bit heavier beer than the lager. But that's really nice, and neither of us have tried this yet.
All right.
So do you want which one of these?
I'll go the citrus mid just to.
You go that.
All right. So
Well,
the
I'll
citrus
have to go
mid.
to the lager because I had that last.
Well, they
night.
called that the
Do you want-
lo-fi.
You want to know?
I don't know what this one's about, but I'm just going to give you my best impression.
No,
of
we'll
my
leave it
tasting.
Wait a minute. If you're not going to have it.
Well, the can cracks very nicely. It's got a nice fizz to it. Here we go. Oh, it
So it
smells.
smells
It smells like orange juice. Without a doubt.
fucking
It
does.
smells like orange juice. Anyway.
So as soon as you open these up, you know you're drinking craft beer. Yeah, it's not like you're opening up a can of whatever. It's actually a really nice
Righto.
smell to it.
That's delicious.
So that's like it's got a really nice sort of bitter to it without being over the top. The good thing about this is that you could probably have, like, by the time you get to the bottom of the can, you're probably wanting another beer. Whereas a lot of beers now, you get to the bottom of the can and you go, fuck, I'm never drinking another one of them again.
Which is pretty close.
Or you can have that if you don't like this.
Try that. That tastes like someone has literally poured orange juice into that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have this one for sure.
COVID-19.
Nah, don't worry about that.
It smells like oranges, yeah? So it smells like...
It doesn't have an aftertaste though, which is amazing.
So what they've done is they've got a lager and they've got the orange hand cream and gone before they put the can on.
That's what it tastes like. I'm certain there's people out there.
No, that tastes beautiful.
Public service announcement. Salt and vinegar chips are garbage. Jake, have a good, hard, long fucking look at yourself, pal.
So this is an American wheat beer, yeah? So this is a bit easier drinking beer. It doesn't have as much of the harsh bitterness on the front. It does have that sort of a bit of lemony citrus, but think of like a
concentrated. I'm right. What do we want? I don't want lemonade. Get that away from me.
So it's like it tastes like someone's got a beer and then put a slice of lemon in it, yeah? So it's actually not too bad as far as your flavour goes.
It tastes like orange concentrate.
It's a bit more bitter than the lager. So it's a little bit heavier beer, but it's being a wheat beer. But it's quite a light sort of American style beer, yeah? So I don't mind that at all. I reckon that's really good.
You like it?
So depending on what sort of beer you like, I'm going to probably...
You going to rate them?
I'm only going to drink
You got to rate them
a
first?
bit out of this because I've got to drive home after this. So these are, like, that's a mid-strength, that's a full strength, that's a full strength. So there is 1.4 beer drinks per can.
There's
So
1.4 beers to this drink can.
drink in moderation. So males like us, we're going to have 2 standard drinks in the first hour, 1 standard drink every hour after that. We have had a little bit of food, so we'll be well under the limit. There won't be any issue there.
Well, I'd say if we finish the beers,
Well, that's it. We're only going to add
so
more.
we're already tasting them.
So this one is. This is what This stinks. No other word for it. It smells like old socks or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's an ale. That has got a lot of flavour to it, yeah. And I don't know what it. I've never done a brewery making course or anything like that. There's a lot more flavour to it, and that's typical of an ale.
It's actually not a bad drop straight up. It first hits your tongue, it creates a bit of a party, but then it leaves a nice aftertaste on the way down.
It's smooth,
So
yeah.
it's actually not bad. It's not too bad, to be honest. Would I drink 12 of them? Probably not. But I'm going to rate them like this. So
we'll see you.
See you later.
Catch you later.
So from number 1, number 2, number 3, I'm going to rate these. Number 1, number 2, and the one that I drink the least is that one.
All right, so I'm going to rate these.
Go.
I would probably put the lager last, yeah?
Really?
No.
That's interesting.
I drink this, like these are craft beers. I could get that beer with any other label on it. You know, like it's just a fucking lager. It's nothing special. It's not a crafty sort of beer. These are your craft beers. And really out of the two, I do prefer the citrusy one. Yeah? I actually prefer that as a beer over that because again, it's a nice ale and it's got some good flavour to it and stuff. But at the end of the day, like I'm a big Guinness and Kilkenny drinker, and like I drink that and think, would I drink that over a Kilkenny? No. And so I would have to say the citrus, like this is unique. This is something that I would expect to get from a craft brewer. Yeah, it's a really nice drink. It's innovative. It's something different.
It's definitely different.
So the lo-fi I would actually put at first, festive, and the social I would put last.
Cool.
That's my take on this.
No, beautiful. That's exactly what we're chasing.
But I think one thing to take away from this is it's definitely worthwhile going down to the other side and tasting it for yourself.
Definitely, like
none of these are undrinkable.
no, we've given them a bit of a working over, but they are not undrinkable. That's for sure. They're actually quite a nice drop. They're just you got to be in the mood for certain ones of them.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? Call it. Go home.
I reckon that's probably done and dusted. Send through any questions. So if you've got any questions about negotiating, if you've got any questions about gunsmithing, if you've got any questions about beer or the new Leupold Sunnies or
Anything.
what KFC, best KFC to order from,
Wouldn't be Midlands, but
send through your questions and we will deal with them next week because we haven't been doing many questions on the way through and there's been a lot of questions coming up.
there has been a lot of.
So I really appreciate it. We've had a really good turnout tonight. I've seen the numbers sort of trickling around that 50 to 60 mark.
We had 76 was the top I saw tonight.
76. So good numbers. Really appreciate it, guys. We're going to try and keep making the show better and better. Next week, I'm going to try and write a guide to buying a firearm. Specifically, how to get around your spouse. So from a psychological point of view, and I'm not a psychologist, but I'm going to make something up, and a psychological point of view, how to buy a gun and get in the least amount of shit.
You're not an ologist.
An ologist. I'm not an
You're
ologist.
definitely a psycho.
No, yeah, that's it.
Alright, thanks very much guys for tuning in. Absolutely great to have you.
Support your local businesses, go to Otherside.
Thank you very much for last week. Nearly 19,000 views. I know he's already said it, but I wanted to touch on it again tonight. Absolutely great to have you guys. We will see you tomorrow morning if you pop into the shop, and we'll catch you later.